Welcome to the channel. This is Too Many Paints, aka TMP, dedicated hobbyist and owner of Too Many Paints. I've decided to kick off this new year by starting up a monthly paint vlog where I'll be posting videos every month charting my progress and trying to keep myself motivated and justify all of the models and paints that I purchase over the year. By all means, kick along for the ride. Let's get started. First up in the new year is these Bolton FLayed Men from the Song of Ice and Fire miniature war game by Simon. Technically, I did most of the work on these guys in December of 2019, but I finished them in the new year, so I'm gonna count them anyway. I really enjoyed working on these guys. They're mostly just metal, so a lot of Nuln Oil and lead belcher went into their design, but I do like the fuchsia color scheme that I chose for their capes and armor. It's very Bolton-y. I always enjoy the thought of this menacing army just charging into battle in pink. This was the first model of the miniature mercenary lineup that I based with a little bit of sand on the base to sort of spice things up beyond the occasional sparse tuft of grass, and I liked it so much that I went back and based the Bolton cutthroats the same way. Not much else to say about these miniatures. Horses continue to elude me, and I enjoyed splattering the armor and weapons with blood and grime. Next up is the alternate sculpt of Ramsay Bolton that I got in the Hand of the King Kickstarter extra set. This was a fun one. Honestly, I just painted in the same way that I did the previous Ramsay Bolton, but with a little more blood on the knife. I think the face came out a little better, but really not much else to say about this guy. I do love how floofy and white his massive fur collar is. And here we have Bronn of the Blackwater, also from the Hand of the King Kickstarter set. This was nice to put together. I enjoy the kinetic energy of the model, although I think I laid the beard on a bit thick. I remember going back over his chainmail with shading wash a few times when I learned that he wore black chainmail in the books. I think it's a little odd that the sculpt here has a shield, even though Bronn is rather notable for rarely using one in combat, but whatever, I guess that's what makes it alternate. I'm looking forward to the actual Bronn model that comes with the Mercenary Heroes 2 box set. That one supposedly just has a sword. Technically, with the completion of these two models, this counts as the first box set that I've completed in the new year, but I think I'm going to reserve celebration for when I actually complete an entire set within the year. Next up is the Telex Sworn Shields, also from Song of Ice and Fire. I had a lot of fun painting these guys. The blue metal of their armor was just fun to glaze over and shade to get exactly right, and the blue, white, and red color scheme came out good, even though I've joked that they look a bit more like Pepsi Nights than something from the Riverlands. The bluish-green tone that they have on their armor in the box art is present on a few shields, but I decided to keep things a little more book-accurate. These were the first miniatures that I painted in the squad schedule that I've devised for myself, where I paint 4 miniatures at a time, then do something else, then paint another 4 miniatures. Honestly, I find this a complete revelation. Even if I don't complete a squad for the month, then it still leaves me with something to show for it, and it just keeps me motivated. I'm going to probably paint the rest of my squads moving forward in this same style. And now we're getting into the miniatures that I rewarded myself with as I completed chunks of the Sworn Shield box set. First up is Ned Stark, Lord of Winterfell. To be honest, I think that his miniature is a little more blue than I was expecting, but I did want to actually follow the stat card and box art as opposed to just cooking up a color scheme off the top of my head. Also, ice seems a bit small for a legendary Valyrian steel greatsword, but whatever. I included a little bit of graying in his beard and hair to acknowledge the premature graying that he has in the books. I think it came out quite well. He looks very humble and noble. Good pose. Next up is the sneaky bastard himself, Howland Reed. One of my favorite characters from the books, even though he's barely ever made an appearance. Just the mention of him has always seemed so cool. I enjoyed the pseudo-Robin Hood-style greenish earth tones that this guy has, and the multiple weapons that he's carrying around, which you probably need all of just to survive in the Crannogs. I debated painting the eyes on the tiny face that he has underneath the hood, but I'm glad that I did. I think it really focuses the model as he stares down the outstretched knife that he's holding. I added a little more water and a few effects to the base to imply boggy, moist environments, which I think work well with the guy. And when I finished up the last of the Sworn Shields, who better to close out the house telly unit than Uncle Brynden Telly himself, the Blackfish. This was a relatively simple model. I enjoyed the sort of cream color on his tabard, although when I actually got the model underneath my lens, I noticed that the face really did not survive the casting procedure. My attempts at performing a little bit of plastic surgery with my craft knife left him a bit lopsided, but there's nothing else I can do at this point. I think that it looks good on the cape side, but the side that faces outwards towards his sword kind of got smoothed down. At least his sword didn't snap off like his mounted version. I did try some new coloring on the cape, a more softer, natural black than the hard highlights that Eshin Grey gives, and I quite like it. If I ever finally get to the Night's Watch box set, I'm definitely going to be using it for a lot of their cloaks and armor. And the final model of January of this year would be this store-exclusive Space Marine Sergeant that has been sitting in my to-do box forever. I love the dimension on this model. The way he's planted his foot on that dead orc just creates this entire level of depth that promotes you to pick up and look at this model in your hands. Considering how proud he is of that dead greenskin, I figured that Crimson Fist was the only way to paint this guy. I ended up calling him Sergeant Vallejo. The undercut was fun to do, and I've never actually done a Space Marine face before, considering I think that everybody should wear a helmet in the battle. The eyebrows went on a bit thick, and coupled with the hair, I think he looks very Italian, but I like it. The battle damage was fun to do, and the splattered muck that coats his armor that is typical for my Crimson Fists looks good here, especially with the pockmarks from all the shots that he's taken. Alright, that completes the models that I painted for January. I also did pick up the Stark box set with Arya, the Reeds, and a bunch of other little Starky boys in it. I'm looking forward to painting that, but it does mean that I've bought 7 miniatures this year in addition to the 22 that I've already painted. So, painted 22, purchased 7. I'll keep you posted on these exact numbers to make sure that I don't completely overreach myself. See you in the future.